was my brother's birthday last week and I was tasked with making the cake, and all I had to work with was I want a blue cake. So I got to work and I decided on a 3-tier vanilla sponge Kinder Bueno blue cake. So let's get started on the cake layers. So I started off by whisking together 375 grams of butter and 375 grams of vegetable oil. I didn't want this cake to be really dry, but I didn't want to go 100% vegetable oil. So I decided to half the amount of butter and I just put half of each. I then added 750 grams of caster sugar and give that a really good mix. I then went ahead and added 12 large eggs, and I also added around 6 tablespoons of vanilla extract. It is typically 2 tablespoons per cake, but I was making 3, so I went for 6 tablespoons. Once that was all mixed, I went ahead and added 750 grams of self-raising flour, 100 milliliters of milk. I then transferred that over to my baking trays and popped that in the oven on gas mark 4 for about 45 minutes. When making a buttercream cake, I like to freeze mine overnight just because it is a lot easier to decorate when the cakes are cold. I then just lightly sprayed my cakes with some simple syrup and placed a generous amount of that buttercream over the top. I did try to make like a little well in the middle of the buttercream just so I could place my Kinder Bueno sauce in the middle. I warmed the sauce up for about 30 seconds just so that it was easier to spread. However, you don't want the sauce to be too warm, otherwise it will melt the buttercream. I then just repeated the exact same process for the other layer, going in with some cakes, simple syrup, buttercream and Kinder Bueno spread. Once my cake layers were all done, I went ahead and crumb coated the cake. Also, I think I forgot to mention, to make the buttercream, I used 750 grams of unsalted butter and 1.2 kg of ice and sugar. I then just continued to work my magic on this cake. If I seen any cake poking out, I just went ahead and added a little bit more buttercream. And do not worry if you can't get this part perfect, because this is going to get covered up anyways. I then popped that in the fridge for around half an hour just so the buttercream could set before going in with this beautiful blue. To make this blue, I just used some gel food colouring, and then I also used my immersion blender just to get that deeper tone. Once my cake was completely covered in that blue frosting, I then popped it in the fridge for around 10 minutes. And it came out looking like this. It had some kind of marble effect to it. I'm not gonna lie, I low-key like it. I mean, it wasn't what I was going for, but it gave it so much personality. Also went ahead and piped around the border of the cake. I'm not gonna lie, I still need to work on my piping skills. They're not the best. I also placed over this topper that I found off Amazon, and this was the finished look. I was so proud of this cake and it tasted so nice. Anyways, happy birthday, Zach.